Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Chris Beers. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at least says, we're talking about the strike in Gaza, at least 21 people were killed when powerful storms and tornadoes tore through Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas over the weekend. A resident of Valley View, Texas, describes the horrors he saw. And we'll skip that soundbite.
And then when I got here, I checked on them, and they were like, "Come help us! These guys down here, they're dying and they need help. That their family's already dead under the truck." Then when we got there, the lady was laying under the truck, the kid was under the truck, the little girl was on the side, and her dad was screaming in pain. And he was like, help me, like, take me to the hospital." So
the storms inflicted their worst damage in a region spanning from north of Dallas to the northwest corner of Arkansas. In Texas, winds reached an estimated 135 miles per hour. At least 7 people were killed in the state, about 100 people were injured, and more than 200 homes and structures were destroyed. 9 million people, mostly in Tennessee and Kentucky, were under flash flooding alerts. According to PowerOutage.us, roughly 500,000 customers were without power this morning in Kentucky, Alabama, West Virginia, Missouri, and Arkansas. The risk of severe weather is moving northeast today. Powerful storms will move through Tennessee and the Ohio Valley before heading to the Carolinas, Pennsylvania, and New York. Now let's head to the nation's capital in North Carolina, where former President Trump had a busy weekend of campaigning. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on his appearances at the Libertarian National Convention and the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600 race.
Former President Trump spoke at the Libertarian National Convention on Saturday. The presumptive GOP nominee told those in attendance he had, quote, been indicted by the government for 91 different things.
If I wasn't a libertarian before, I sure as hell am a libertarian now.
Trump tried to find common ground, saying everyone there believes in fighting for the same fundamental freedoms.
Freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of the right to own a firearm, and freedom over taxation.
The former president took aim at the state of education in the country.
We will cut federal funding for any school pushing Marxist and communist race and gender theories on our children.
Trump was booed and heckled by many in the raucous audience, but lots of supporters clad in Make America Great hats and t-shirts were also in attendance, cheering and chanting, USA, USA. Trump eventually hit back at those booing him, saying, you don't want to win, and suggesting that some libertarians want to keep getting their 3% every 4 years. A protester can be seen here struggling against a security guard, trying to remove her. Some libertarians blame Trump for rushing through the creation of a COVID-19 vaccine when he was president, and for not doing more to stop public health restrictions on the unvaccinated during the pandemic. Following the convention, Trump said he absolutely would have gotten the Libertarian Party nomination for president if he wasn't the presumptive GOP nominee. But Trump added that, quote, regardless, I believe I will get a majority of the Libertarian votes. Former President Trump was in Charlotte on Sunday. He flew over the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600 race. In his private plane, Trump Force One. He then attended the race. Trump took some time to pose for a photo with Gold Star families at the Coca-Cola 600. Gold Star families are those that have experienced a loss of an immediate family member who died as the result of active duty military service. The latest Real Clear polling averages show Trump with about a 1-point lead over President Biden. Back in May 2020, Biden had about a 5.5-point polling average lead. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
The Libertarian Party has its presidential candidate. Political activist Chase Oliver won the nomination over former President Trump and independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The Sunday vote took multiple rounds of the party's convention. Oliver reacted on X, saying there is no better unifying ticket in this party than this one. It's time to unify and move forward for liberty. The 38-year-old previously ran for a Senate seat in Georgia in 2022, receiving 2% of the vote. His campaign website calls for major cuts to the federal budget and balancing the budget. He also advocates for the abolition of the death penalty, the closure of all overseas military bases, and ending military support to Israel and Ukraine. And sad news out of Los Angeles. A suspected thief shot and killed former General Hospital actor Johnny Wachter on Saturday. Police say Wachter and a co-worker had just left work at a rooftop bar and were walking to Wachter's car. Wachter noticed activity around the vehicle and thought it was being towed. Investigators say when he approached several men to ask what was going on, a gunman opened fire. The men drove off. LAPD investigators believe the suspects were trying to steal his vehicle's catalytic converter. Wachter later died at a hospital. The 37-year-old was also known for his roles in the TV drama series Criminal Minds and Siberia. Police are now trying to find the people responsible. And turning to a free speech case involving women's sports and a California library. Yolo County Library is accused of violating the First Amendment rights of several women's groups. Now attorneys with Alliance Defending Freedom and the Institute for Free Speech have reached a settlement. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more.
In August 2023, Moms for Liberty hosted an event called Forum on Fair and Safe Sport for Girls in a community room at a library in Yolo County. The event featured several speakers, including Sophia Lori, a former collegiate athlete. A few minutes into Lori's speech on protecting women's sports, protesters began to interrupt her, shouting her down and accusing her of misgendering.
Are you going to misgender people throughout the entire...
The library's regional manager told her that if she continued to refer to trans-identified male athletes as men, she would have to leave the room and he would shut the event down.
If she does not leave the building, the program is shut down. We're done.
Lori stopped her speech, but the regional manager soon told everyone to leave during the next speech and shut off the projector. Alliance Defending Freedom attorney Matthew Hoffman says Yolo County has agreed to respect the First Amendment rights of speakers as part of the settlement.
First and foremost, it's changed its policy. It's amended it to protect the viewpoint of all. It prohibits staff from discriminating against events in meeting rooms based on the content and viewpoint of speech. It also requires staff to take efforts to curtail disruptors and protesters that may interfere with an event.
Hoffman says the First Amendment makes it clear that government and library officials have no business telling people what views are appropriate.
It's the people's will that decides the laws, the political process, and really enables our human dignity. And by taking away that ability to express ourselves freely, the library infringed on those fundamental rights and what makes this country great.
The library officials also agreed to allow the women's groups to hold another discussion on fairness in women's sports, which they did in April without incident. Former collegiate athlete Sophia Lori says the case has taught her a lot about First Amendment rights.
It's okay that we have differences of opinions, but we need to have the opportunity to express those opinions, and we have that freedom of speech to share what we believe.
Lori says she can sense an awakening on the issue of women's sports, with more people believing they are in danger.
Not everyone necessarily believed that women's sports were being invaded by men. Not everyone believed that there was actual males in females' locker rooms and bathrooms. And so after fighting for this for the past year to 2 years, now just everyday person, they all recognize that this is happening. Whether they're okay with it or not, we're still working on changing that.
Lori called the settlement a win for all Americans because she says it's a win for free speech.
It's a win for us to continue to grow as a society and be able to have these debates and have these conversations to hopefully end up with changing laws.
As part of the settlement, Yolo County Library officials also agreed to pay $70,000 in damages and attorney's fees. NTD reached out to Yolo County Library, but they did not wish to comment.
Well, I am Sophia Lori.
Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu acknowledges a tragic mistake. He's referring to an Israeli strike in the southern Gaza city of Rafah Sunday night. The attack burned a tent encampment holding displaced Palestinians. At least 45 people were reported killed and hundreds more injured. The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry and the Palestinian Red Crescent Rescue Service are reporting 12 women, 8 children and 3 senior adults were among the dead civilians. It also reported 3 bodies burned beyond recognition. Israel's allies condemned the incident, calling it unbearable and heartbreaking and calling for an investigation. France also called for the strikes to stop. Israel's top military lawyer says investigators are looking into what went wrong with the strike and that the military regrets the loss of civilian life. Netanyahu says Israel must destroy what he says are the last remaining Hamas battalions in Rafah. And we have some breaking news. A rocket launch by North Korea failed today, according to state media. The Korean Central News Agency said it was carrying a spy satellite. The news agency reported the rocket exploded soon after liftoff because of a suspected engine problem. The launch came hours after the leaders of South Korea, China, and Japan met in Seoul in their first trilateral meeting in more than 4 years. It's highly unusual for North Korea to take proactive military action when China, its major ally and economic pipeline, is engaging in high-level diplomacy in the region. The United Nations bans North Korea from conducting any satellite launches. It says the communist country uses the launches as cover for testing long-range missiles. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Spain today. He's meeting Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez to sign a security deal worth over $1 billion. This reportedly includes air defenses, but Zelensky says he needs more.
We talked about air defense today, but Spain itself cannot close this issue. But there are enough of these Patriot systems in the world, and so we need to work together and put pressure not only on Russia, we need to put pressure on our partners to give us the opportunity to defend ourselves.
Today's agreement will guarantee Ukraine over $1 billion worth of weapons. Spain will reportedly send a dozen Patriot anti-aircraft missiles and 19 second-hand German-made tanks. That's according to Spanish newspaper El País. The Spanish government didn't confirm the reports. Zelensky is also scheduled to visit the Portuguese capital of Lisbon. He will meet the Prime Minister there and the President tomorrow. Zelensky is expected to sign a similar 10-year agreement with Portugal. And an annual tradition this Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery, the wreath-laying ceremony. Today, President Biden marked the solemn and personal occasion by thanking those who died while serving their country in the name of democracy around the world. His remarks, Biden noted that the nation gathers each Memorial Day to remember and honor the sacrifice of the hundreds of thousands of men and women who gave their lives to defending America.
America is the only country in the world founded on an idea that all people are created equal and deserve to be treated equally throughout their lives. We've never fully lived up to that, but we've never, ever, ever walked away from it. Every generation, our fallen heroes have brought us closer. Today, we're not just fortunate heirs of their legacy. We have a responsibility to be the keepers of their mission.
Biden also spoke about the anniversary this week of the death of his son, Beau, who served in Iraq and later died from brain cancer. Biden believes the cause of Beau's cancer was due to exposure to toxic burn pits during his service in Iraq. Before the ceremony began, Biden, joined by Vice President Kamala Harris and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, placed a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. From marching bands to musical performances, one of the nation's largest Memorial Day parades kicks off in the heart of Washington, D.C. Citizens and veterans from across the country gather to honor American servicemen and women who lost their lives in the line of duty. NTD's Sam Wong has more.
Floats and marching band taking over Constitution Avenue bring a full slate of patriotic tunes to the heart of the nation's capital. Spectators stopping by along the sidewalk, cheering on as the parade makes its way down the street.
Memorial Day is when we honor those who have fallen as an ultimate sacrifice to our country. It's a solemn holiday. We celebrate the victory over the grave and the victory of freedom for all mankind.
For many years, Memorial Day was widely referred to as Decoration Day. Its inception traces all the way back to the years after the Civil War, and it didn't become a federal holiday until 1971. From parades to marching band to wreath-laying ceremony, Memorial Day is observed and celebrated annually on the last Monday in May. To many Americans, it's a day of remembrance of those who paid the ultimate sacrifices while serving the country. It also marks the unofficial beginning of summer.
For me personally, there's no place I'd rather be than here in D.C. with all of these families of fallen. They do this every day. They feel this pain and this heartbreak every day. And so for us to be here and walk alongside them and truly honor and remember their fallen hero, we want to say their names and remember who they were and the sacrifice that they made.
To me personally, I recognize both my son, who served many missions in the United States Air Force, and he is now passed. And we're here to celebrate and honor him, as well as all the soldiers and sailors that I was with on my aircraft carrier in Vietnam. This visit to Washington, I've had 2 people see my veteran's hat and say, "Welcome home." And that is something I never heard when I came back 50 years ago.
We're here on Constitution Avenue, right across the street from the National Archives. Right now, clouds are gathering above us, but rain or shine, the celebration carries on. Citizens from across the United States plan to honor the fallen for many years to come. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Sam Wong, NTD News.
When we come back, a not-so-sweet deal as fake honey from China is flooding European grocery stores. Despite tighter EU rules, the trend persists to the extent that beekeepers say their businesses are at risk. And if you're in the mood to shop, online retail giant Amazon has some Memorial Day deals for you. That and more after the break.
Hi folks. Do you trust this economy? What if you could receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? And what if you were in control? You could turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. What if your interest was compounded daily, you were paid monthly, and there were absolutely no fees? And what if you could have peace of mind because there was no attack on your principal if you ever needed your money back? Well, folks, there is an investment with all of these features. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return with wreath-laying, and they don't care about what happens with the stock market or the Fed. And best of all, they receive their statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investwreath-laying.com. That's investwreath-laying.com. Wreath-laying, do well by doing good.
People often ask, where's the best place in Korea to do business?
Chongbuk Free Economic Zone, of course. Take the first step to a successful investment and enjoy a bright future with CP Petchu.
These are all farmers, maybe
no,
not this
one.
Not a farm anymore. But here's a farm, right?
No, there's also not a farm anymore.
All these people shut down because of the government policies?
Yeah.
The government wants to control the food. So we don't eat meat, but we eat insects.
As the price of staples goes through the roof, people will say, I can't afford a steak anymore. So, all right, I'll eat your stupid crickets.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Days Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Days Enzyme Fermented Coffee.
Shen Yun Creations, the streaming platform from Shen Yun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Welcome back. Fake honey from China is flooding into European grocery stores. Despite the EU Commission tightening the rules to inform customers, this trend isn't slowing down. Some of Europe's beekeepers say their businesses are at risk due to cheap rice-based honey. NTD's France correspondent David Vives has the story.
It's hard to tell the difference with the naked eye, but some honeys aren't made from flowers. Rather, they come from rice, wet corn and other sweet products. Many European customers might have been fooled by the honey coming from China, which is Europe's largest supplier at the moment. The latest figures show a sharp increase of importations from this country since 2020.
In China, a new industry is emerging, one that produces artificial honey using rice and corn syrups that are very, very well fabricated. And these artificial honeys, which have not been made by bees, compete with French and European honeys and arrive on the market at such low prices that they are well below the production costs of our honeys.
One honey pot from China can be produced for as little as $1 or $2, compared to $5 for a French pot. Henry says that although China has been a great producer of honey in the past, recent methods are totally profit-oriented without respect for customers. These products rarely get spotted as fake honey when they reach grocery shelves.
The worst thing is that these products go beyond routine analysis, and we can't recognize them if we don't carry out more in-depth analyses to detect them.
In response to this situation, the EU Commission spearheaded a comprehensive control operation, collaborating with 16 European countries. Their findings revealed not only the use of unauthorized additives, but also falsified traceability information, misleading consumers. Henry says only stricter systematic controls and a total ban on these honeys could really address the problem.
We are calling for much stricter controls. We are also calling for analysis methods to be cross-referenced to identify these false honeys and for them to be banned.
Europe imported around $390 million of honey in 2023. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Elon Musk's AI startup xAI just raised $6 billion, giving it a total market value of $24 billion. Investors are betting big on challengers to companies like OpenAI. The funds will bring xAI's first products to market, build advanced infrastructure, and boost research and development for future technologies. Elon Musk hinted at more announcements soon. Major players like Microsoft-backed OpenAI and Alphabet are leading the race in generative AI, fueling significant investments and innovation. The Memorial Day holiday this year is a good time to shop for electric vehicles or on Amazon. Here's NTD's Don Ma with today's Business Matters.
Thank you, Chris. Of course, Memorial Day officially here, and Amazon is honoring both troops and valued customers with some all-time low deals ahead of this holiday with a major sales event. You can expect up to 40% off or more across all categories, from fashion to home and everything in between. That's also including items from a Traeger grill to kick off your barbecue season, or an editor favorite stain remover, from shoes to mattresses as well, and TVs, iPads, all the tech you can imagine is on sale at Amazon.com. Deals keep rolling in this holiday weekend, and they don't disappoint. You'll likely find something you need at a discount online. And speaking of Memorial Day, it's shaping up to offer some of the best deals in new cars as well in years. And the discounts vary widely from manufacturer and the type of cars. Don't expect too much off a Toyota SUV, for example, but it is a good time to be in the market for an electric vehicle. The auto industry is back pumping out new cars, and dealers are discounting again. Currently, Ford dealers are offering average incentives of up to $1,500 on the Ford Bronco, more than 6 times what they were offering last year, according to data from Cox Automotive. On the GMC Sierra pickup, dealers are offering almost $6,000 on average in incentives, according to Cox. EVs are good buys right now. The Volkswagen ID4 and Kia Niro EV, for instance, are selling at discount averages of more than 13%, according to Edmunds.com. All right, that's all from me today, Chris. Back to you.
Here's a fun event over Memorial Day weekend. Check out this video footage from Key West, Florida. Participants are racing in homemade boats. This was on Sunday at the annual Schooner Wharf Minimal Regatta. Spectators cheered as the competitors navigated their vessels toward the finish line. The challenge wasn't so much winning as trying to avoid sinking. That's because the boats were made from plywood and duct tape. No caulking allowed, but the sailors were encouraged to wear creative costumes. Some of the imaginative vessels included a mini pirate ship with a mermaid figurehead and a replica of the Titanic that lived up to its legacy and quickly capsized. Awards were given for speed, design, costume, sportsmanship, and even the least seaworthy boat. Hilarious. Thank you so much for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Chris Beers. See you tomorrow.